Hey everyone, I just finished reading a book called Spark by John Twelvehawks, and I'm torn with this book. I'm not sure what I think of it, and there will be spoilers. Now, Spark is about a guy named Jacob Underwood, and he's a very interesting protagonist. And I actually thought this was a super interesting book because of this aspect. Jacob Underwood had an accident, and in this accident, it damaged his brain, and he ended up with what's called Cotard syndrome. It's this delusion that you are dead or not human. And so for him, he calls it his spark. He's just a spark inside a shell. And so he is essentially a sociopath. He doesn't feel emotions. He doesn't connect to people. He can't read people's emotions. And it's pretty fascinating just seeing his interactions with people, or lack of interactions with people. Now, this book is first person, and I don't tend to like first person, or I guess I should say I don't like bad first person, where the narrator overtells and just tells you things about how they feel or what's going on instead of actually showing it. Now, this works well because, in this book, because Jacob Underwood doesn't connect emotionally, so he's not spilling his guts about what he feels or how things appear to him. He's just telling it like it is. So it's a very simple narration, and I like that. Now, this is kind of a near future science fiction because the world that he is living in has had what's called the Day of Rage, and it talks about this at the beginning of the book. The Day of Rage, there were massive bombings all over, terrorist bombings all over the world that were simultaneous, and because of the Day of Rage and these bombings that killed school children and lots of innocent people, governments kind of created this AI system to monitor and watch over every citizen. So they look for abnormal behavior, they have cameras everywhere, they have tracking cards, and so very big brotherish. Jacob Underwood comes upon this job interview where he interviews for the position. He becomes basically a hired assassin, mercenary, for large banks and corporations to take care of their dirty business for the money laundering and less than legal activities. So when someone who's in nefarious activities has their money stolen, they can't call the authorities because they're criminals, so they call in Jacob Underwood and the people he works for. Now, this is where things get tricky, and I'm not sure what to do with this. Jacob Underwood has Cotard syndrome, and because he's sociopathic, where he doesn't connect with people, it's hard to connect with anybody in the book, including him. It's kind of a catch-22. He's an interesting protagonist, and at the same time, it creates this dissonance you have where I don't have any sort of, I don't care, I don't have any sort of connection with what goes on in the book, because any of the danger that happens, he doesn't really feel the danger. He doesn't really, he can't feel fear. And so because he can't, I don't really feel fear for him. I don't really feel like the moments of tension actually amount to anything, because I know that he's not afraid. He really can't be hurt. As far as, I mean, even physical pain doesn't really register to him, because he's a shell. He's a spark within a shell. And so it's weird. It is such an interesting premise, and it just doesn't connect. So Jacob Underwood is given this mission where he is supposed to find a woman who is missing, who has taken some information, some damning information about a large corrupt corporation. And so he goes to her apartment and is looking through her stuff, and all of a sudden feels this connection with her. And obviously she's supposed to be the redeeming figure in his life, what the thing that connects to his spark and kind of shocks him out of this empty state, this dead state where he doesn't feel like he's human. He doesn't interact or connect with anything or anybody except for dogs. He likes dogs. They interest him. However, he's supposed to be this bad sociopathic, I suppose he's supposed to be this bad psycho cold-hearted killer, except everybody he kills up to this point is bad. They're morally corrupt. They're not good people. And so you've only seen him kill bad people. So at this point, it's not really bad. The one mission where he has to kill someone innocent, he doesn't. He doesn't pull the trigger, and he disobeys the orders. So the only thing we've seen about him so far is that he does, he takes the trash out, so to speak, and he doesn't kill innocent people. So you really don't have any of this idea that he is this sociopathic, cold-hearted, just brutal killer who doesn't care about anything or anybody, because the only time that you see someone innocent, he doesn't kill them. So that kind of undermines all that. Then this woman that he's supposed to find, all of a sudden he connects with her, and just finds himself drawn to her, even though he's never met her, never had any interactions with her. He's just smitten with her. Not in love, but just he is curious and energized by everything that he finds out about her. And it doesn't really make sense because you don't meet her until, maybe the last quarter of the book. And so just all these things are happening. And so then we come to the end of the book, and it turns out that the corporation that she was working for and the information that she had and stole gives us the person she was working for actually helped fund this Day of Rage, all the bombings. And that's a spoiler, but you get to this point in the book and you don't care. Because again, you haven't connected with anybody in the book. You haven't connected with the protagonist, because he doesn't connect with anybody. The main woman you just met, you've heard about her, but you just met her. And then you find out that this corrupt big business that she works for is corrupt. It falls flat again. It just doesn't land. And it also was, I didn't know, you don't even know what the point or purpose of this book is. Is it to find this woman? Is it to redeem the protagonist? And I certainly didn't think it had anything to do with the Day of Rage. I thought that was just a setup for the world that they were in. And then you find out that the big reveal, the big twist, is that someone caused the Day of Rage. Okay. It didn't do anything for me. And you find out that he didn't just happen upon his job as an assassin. He was actually recruited because of his Cotard syndrome. Because they knew he didn't feel anything, they thought he would be a perfect recruit. Well, of course the people who hired him were recruiting him. They're not just picking random people off the street. Of course they set things up to put in motion to where he had interviewed with them. And so I'm torn with this book. I thought the concept was interesting. I liked the world that it was in. I liked the viewpoint of the protagonist. The writing was completely competent. But as far as just the story, I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know what I was supposed to be feeling. I didn't know who I was supposed to be rooting for. I didn't connect with things, and then the twists just kind of fell flat. And so at the end of the day, when I finished the book, I just kind of thought, okay, maybe it's a 6 out of 10, maybe it's a 3 out of 5. They're the same thing. But it wasn't bad, and it wasn't great. So that is my review of Spark. So I hope that makes you want to buy it. And again, just because I didn't like it, you might love it. So please, support all authors, read books. Just because I didn't care for something doesn't mean that you won't. So check it out. And until next time, my name is Mark Taylor, and as always, keep reading, and you have no idea how valuable you are.